Apologies for my background. I'm currently cafe hopping in Taipei, but we're very lucky today to talk about food tech and marketing for startups. Today we have BoxGreen's co-founder Walter O, who's ex-DB banker turned entrepreneur in the food space. A bit about BoxGreen. It's a food technology startup that aims to introduce consumers to better and healthier snack product opportunities. They're currently disrupting a $20 billion snack industry market in Australia, in Asia, using their predictive data analytics, as well as creating their own line of products in a very quick time. So think about what they do. Think of their business model like Zara, but for healthy food snacks. Today, we welcome Walter for joining the call.
Thank you, Will, for the introduction.
So I guess today, Walter, I wanted to talk a bit more about your experience. Firstly about moving from the corporate space into food startups, and then later on sharing your insight into what it was like setting up the business and promoting the business across Asia. So why don't you tell me a bit about your background? What were you doing before, and how did you come by starting BoxGreen?
Yeah, so I used to be working in the finance industry, doing the pretty usual route that most people are doing. Got a degree, graduated from college, went to banking, and I'm sure you know better than me as well, right? So it's a white-collar job. And then after a couple of years, I was dabbling on the side, looking at ideas, and really how BoxGreen came about was basically solving my partners and my problem, which is trying to find healthier snacks at work. It's a simple problem. So it's something we face every day while working late nights. I used to be working in the corporate banking sector, so we had to stay late, work on slides, have irregular meals. So this is really like a problem that we face. And and we went towards that angle. It started off really simple. We asked around whether people have the same problem as us. Turns out most of them do. Most bankers work late, and it's simply putting up a site and then asking, hey, so how much will you pay for it? And turns out, people started paying for such a service, and we iterated along the way and grew to where we are right now. So you've actually introduced about us, but so what we do is we actually send individuals or companies snack boxes. They are their own line of snack that we create in-house, and we send them to your doorstep. So people could just go online, order something, and our nutritionists have already taken a look at the snacks, and they're good for you, and it's in portion amount. So you're never hungry, and you're never tempted to hopefully grab that that bar of Snickers or something when you're hungry. Yep.
So I guess the cool thing is that you built a product that was scratching your own niche. One that I based myself working in corporate as well. You end up trying to buy overpriced almonds on an ad hoc basis.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to sort of explore more about, so you mentioned that you asked your colleagues, you asked some of your friends whether or not they had the same problem, and then you ended up creating your own landing page and asking how much they pay for. Was this something that you did on the side, or when was the idea origination, and how did it move from just an idea to an operational business?
So yeah, the idea came about during lunch, and we were just tossing around, bouncing ideas with our colleagues and all, with my partner Andrew, right, during lunch, and we sort of debating, whether this will work or this is. But everyone wasn't really serious. It was like almost like maybe a couple months, maybe 3 months later, that we decided, hey, maybe let's try and see who pays, right? So from the ideation stage to actually putting something out there, it took about 3 months or so. And what made me do that was I thought, I couldn't sleep at night. I just went online and I put up a simple landing page. It's something I like to dabble with. So it turns out, surprisingly, people sign up. So that was how it was from an idea to like an actual product. Yeah.
So let's talk about the MVP that you guys launched. So you had interested signups or interested emails come through. What was this? Piloting some snacks that you thought people would pay for, and once people submitted an order, did you have an ordering process, or did you have to sort of run down to the nearest cold storage or the local groceries to buy it?
It really depends on the business, right? So for us, I think what I missed out was in between we sort of collected emails. I think that's really important for any online businesses out there. And even if you want to validate an idea, if someone is willing to give you their email address, like, hey, stay tuned, you want a free box, it's coming to Singapore. So it's really taking that lead. And when we saw we had about 200 email leads, and it turns out to be, about 50 people paid. So when we send out an email newsletter, then it was sort of like a validation of the product. So having the email lead is important. And yeah.
What made you decide to go full time? Was this, was it a financing issue? Was it something that you wanted to say, hey, I'm tired of my corporate job, I'm going to do something that's impactful? Or was it getting to a point where, hey, there's actually quite a lot of customers and I need to go full time on this?
Yeah.
What made you make that jump?
So we sort of operated under style with an incorporated company, and we started in February, and by the time it was June, some media picked it up, and we had growing orders. And I used to be packing like in the middle of the night and just shipping it in the post office in the middle of the night. And it was until a point where we had a government contract for a delivery, and they required like an incorporation business profile ID number, So, and we were sort of forced into incorporating a company until then. And that was when we realized, okay, maybe it's worth something. I think it's worth giving a try for a year and see how the business goes. So that's why I decided to take a plunge. It was a big order, a couple of $1,000, but so that was like the turning point for me, at least knowing that someone wants to buy, and we could fulfill some of the needs.
So getting your first big corporate deal would have been huge for you guys. A lot of early stage businesses, they start off with business consumer, selling it to their friends, their family. You've done that in the beginning, and now you had a large contract with an enterprise. So can you tell us a bit more about your business model? How does it work? How do you make money? What's the end-to-end operations like?
So for BoxGreen, we sort of operate on the B2B and B2C. It's two revenue models. So it started off with the B2C, which means someone signs up for a box and they actually get a box of surprise. It started off with a surprise, so they get healthy snacks, and they know they always get healthy snacks. So it gets delivered to their mailbox, right? So I think I didn't answer your question earlier on. How did I actually went about getting the snacks? So in the beginning, the first few boxes, it was like a surprise box, and we practically just ran to the supermarket and just bought some. Went to the healthy section, and we're like, pick this, and then some biscuits and all almonds and dry fruits and nuts. So I put them together and ship it out to people. So it was nice. And then eventually, even like right now, we develop our own line of snacks. So in between, we sort of talk to manufacturers, talk to wholesalers, and then we realize in Asia, particularly, people don't really care about, the manufacturers on the end. They just want to move products, right? Make the cheapest thing and then sell it to people at a markup. So there isn't a health angle. They don't technically have a nutritionist in their company. So there's something that's a gap, because we see consumers wanting to eat healthier, but the manufacturers are just putting whatever they like on the shelf. So we're trying to change that when we went deeper into the supply chain, and we realized, we gotta own the whole end-to-end and create a brand that stands for something. So that was when we made the call that, okay, we don't just want to be a box where we put random stuff that's healthy, yes, but it's other people's brand. We wanted to make it such that the box belongs to us. The box is just a channel. We'll eventually go on retail in the hotel, bars, or whatever. So that's our thought process. So yeah, and when we went about doing that, it turns out people liked it more, and they could slowly relate to the brand rather than it's just a box. I could go to the supermarket and get the same thing. Yeah.
So it sounds like the way that you position yourself as the Zara for healthy food snacks is having your own in-house products, having your own in-house curated selection. So let's talk about how you found your first customers. I know that you've gotten to a point where you're generating thousands of dollars of revenue each month. How do you target your customers, and how do you grow your customer base, whether it's subscription or individual?
I guess in the beginning, we were talking about friends and families, right? So obviously, friends around us sort of heard the stuff and they sort of supported in the beginning for sure. But eventually, we went on Facebook. We did some simple advertising, just put in $50, $100, try to get some people into the traffic to know, what's happening, right? And that kind of worked. So we built that email list, and from then on, it sort of grew. So I think advertising plays a big part. You don't have to advertise that much in the beginning, but putting a bit and driving some traffic to your site, getting them newsletters, and of course, what we did, right, for the first 100 box that we sent out, we actually went door to door to deliver the box, and we sort of asked them, hey, why do you even buy this stuff, right? And you'd be surprised that people can't find healthy snacks, like mothers who are buying for their kids and they don't know what exactly to buy, and they don't know that it could be far away, and they don't really know what's healthy, and you have like wives buying for busy husbands who are overworking all the time. So you get this kind of use cases where we deliver in person. So that sort of reinforced the idea that, hey, actually there is a demand for the convenience and for that curated snack portion. Yeah. Coming back to the B2B part, which I forgot to mention again. So we do B2C, and eventually when people started subscribing for their office, we actually wanted it to be for their office, right? And turns out people signed up and they want the box to be shipped to their home. So we got, even up to now, it's still like, but majority of people are still sending the boxes to their own homes instead of the office. But when they bring it to the office, and they share it with the office managers or the bosses, they kind of like it, and they thought, hey, the pantry could use some refresh, right? So that was when the snacks sort of entered the office, and people were like, hey, okay, this is actually good enough for the office.
So how I wanted to break down the marketing discussion was sort of understanding the three steps that you just mentioned. The first part was the initial customer discovery. So doing things that don't scale, banging on doors.
Yeah.
Marketing. Why did that work? Why is that effective for your business? And thirdly, how did that translate and evolve into corporate sales? So why don't we start off by talking a bit about the experience with the door knocking aspect. How did you approach talking to your first customers? What questions did you ask? Why was this effective to define your customer channels?
So we went in there not knowing why people buy this product as well, right? Because we were surprised. So going in there, it's sort of keeping it open, asking them, why do you purchase this product, and how does it actually serve your need on a daily or monthly basis? Yeah, I think it's keeping it open and letting them talk about, oh, I actually bring this snack to work. Oh, it's easy, handy. I just chuck it in my bag. I can bring it along to work. And you'd be surprised, most of our demographics is mostly women. So the women actually, they keep snacks in their bags. It's just something they do, and it's handy for them to just, grab something out and eat, right? So that's sort of keeping things open, and and discovering more use cases that they have. That's how we approach it. So when we knock, the first thing we do is of course introduce ourselves, right? And then we sort of ask them, what do you think of this, and what made you actually press the purchase button, right? And half of them would tell us like, yeah, it's a nice thing. I think I would like to give it a try, and if it changes my life to a certain extent. Some of our customers do that. We do have patients who have diabetes, or they have mobility issues, and they thought this is actually pretty good, right? So there are tons of use cases, but basically it's going in there. You got to go and speak to them in person and tell them, it's not a salesy way. It's just more like, as a founder, you just want to find out why they're using it, keeping it open, because you're kind of still finding out your product market fit, right? So that's how we when knocking on people's doors.
Was it daunting to approach your customers in the first?
It was tiring though. It was tiring because we were driving like from houses to houses all the way, and sometimes even chatting up with people all the way up to 10:30 at night. But people were generally nice, and they sort of like, hey, I like what you guys are doing. It's a new thing. So again, it's more like putting whatever you think it's gonna happen. You probably think it's scary or what, but it doesn't matter. It's just like going for an interview. It just trying to find out what is someone's problem. So to me, it's pretty natural, and I like meeting my customers because they can tell you feedback like really face to face, rather than oh, fill out this survey form, which we tried as well. But you'll be surprised like how much like face to face they can actually tell you what could be improved and whatnot.
So how did you translate these findings into scaling the marketing effort? So, I mean, you had your customer archetype, you had a few different use cases on, how to, market your product or the type of food products that people like to purchase. How did that actually translate to Facebook marketing or whatever channels you used?
So it's more like slowly discovering our customer base. We thought this used to be male and females, and then it turns out most of the people who sign up are mostly females. So and when we were sort of working month by month, we wanted it to be thematic, and then somehow we always make it a point to email our customers or keep that feedback loop. Even right now, there's always a feedback right after you get a box. So people could tell us immediately what they think, whether they like the packaging, whether they like the snacks, whether they like the whole experience. So even right now, we're still sort of like fine tuning, and I think it doesn't stop anywhere. As the business progress, you'll always be fine tuning, finding out more problems that you could do better. So along the way, yeah, we always iterate every box, and we just keep customers in mind and just keep asking them, is this what you want? Is this what you want?
So it sounds like you're learning to scale the feedback loop. Can you tell me a bit more about how that process is? Is it just a form that comes at the end of an email? Is it a slip that comes into their package? How does that work?
So most of the things in the beginning doesn't scale, which means I practically copy a draft and I say, your box is on the way, paste, put that person's email, and I'm like, hey, let me know what you think last month. It's still like the non-scalable, right? And it was until we put in like a pop-up on our site that says, hey, put in an email address, maybe you get 20% off, and maybe that sort of brought more people to the site. It's not per se the survey, but it sort of let people put in their email addresses and get more email leads. And in terms of the survey, it's mostly still manual. I mean, we just implemented like a system where we send them right after they purchase something. It's still a very personal email that was drafted by me, but it's just sent out on certain intervals. So that sort of tells people like, hey, founder cares, and the founder should care at the very beginning. They should have access to you immediately. You're not like a big corporation where they're trying to find a CEO. They can't. You got to go through multiple support lines. You got to be just on the ground doing the dirty work and just grinding it out.
No, I love that. I love the whole grinding out aspect. So let's talk about moving on to the corporate partnership side. So it sounds as though you've identified like a solid customer demographic for your consumers. How did you discover that there was a channel to enter the corporate space? Was it always at the back of your head, or did you just need that validation to say, hey, we have X amount of customers, or we've sold X amount of boxes?
I think most of the time entrepreneurs always want to reinvent the wheel, right? But if you look around, like what we have around us, our experience, be it our network, our past career experience. So we came from corporate background, and we thought the pantry was crappy. That's why we started this. So when we started thinking, hey, we know people in certain companies, our ex company and all, they could be a customer, right? And then true enough, it's just talking to them and saying, hey, you want some samples? This could be good for your boardrooms, your meeting rooms. And again, this is specific to our business. But to the rest, maybe it's like looking around what you already know and what are some of the strengths that you have. You'd be surprised to know that actually your network could get you pretty far in terms of finding your next customer base. So the B2B mostly in the beginning was inbound because I think naturally somehow the product sits in nicely in the office. So we got inbound emails all the time, and then when we noticed a trend, this company that has X amount of people, 100 people maybe, they don't buy from Redmart, they don't buy from the grocery stores online. They just want a very customized solutions to all their stuff. So that's where we come in, and if you, when we talk to investors or mentors, they're telling you, yeah, maybe the corporates are better because they're stickier. If you close it takes longer, right? B2B always takes longer to close, but if you close them, the contract is pretty sticky. So those are some of the things that we test along the way. I wouldn't say we have nailed it. So we're also trying to fine tune the sales process to getting more leads right now. But it's just doing small measured tests and just talking to as many people as you can. They'll give you different perspective that you could apply.
So let's talk about the barrier to entry for large corporates. Now, you mentioned that although the contract's a lot stickier, and for those on the call, what sticky means is having rather than having a one-off consumer purchasing of your product, if you're able to sell to a large corporate, you can have recurring purchase, or helping them scale into different departments. But from your perspective, Walter, how do you firstly to a large corporate, who do you sell to? Are there certain tactics that you've tested? Are there certain departments that you target? And how do you figure out how to price it? Like the end-to-end aspect of selling to a business over a customer is probably completely different, right?
So that's the thing, right? If you are like a B2B like solution, you should focus all the way to B2B. And if you're a B2C, you should focus all the way to B2C. Somehow, like our product, we still straddle in between, and we're sort of still, pursuing both channels, but the strategy is totally different, right? B2C, you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to get more customers in a bigger volume, trying to advertise. It's totally different than just going to B2B. So B2B, what we do, we sort of identify who is the decision maker. I think for every SaaS, software as a service, or even if you're trying to sell to businesses, you got to know who is actually calling the shots, right? It may not be the person on the phone that's recommending it, but could be his boss, right? So it's really knowing who is actually calling the shots in the B2B, and so what we did was we went to look for the kind of person on LinkedIn. Obviously, most of the businesses are there, and we sort of we know who they are, and we find a way to get in there. So it could be cold calling, it could be emailing them, it could be mutually it's a mutual friend of ours. It could be they are HR, most likely office managers. So it could be just going to events where they're around and trying to strike out a conversation for them. Again, cold selling, it's a 1 in 100 kind of hit rate, right? But if you sort of can find a lead in, try to convince them you sort of know the boss, or you meet them over an event, I think it's so much easier than just, hey, send them an email like, I'll buy some snacks. So what we really did was we tried to connect the dots, find the people who may know the person. Hopefully they are consumer, they are subscriber. So what happens, most of them are subscribers, and then they're like, hey, you know what, maybe your office manager will like it. Do you want to recommend us to your office manager? So it's sort of just connecting the dot until you find the decision maker, right? And bosses, if you think about it, bosses actually want productivity, they want employee engagement, employee wellness. They're all for it, but they're constrained by budget, right? But again, if you could convince them that this is actually good for you, you don't have to think too much, and actually you're spending the same as what you're spending on junk food, and it's proven that your people actually likes it, then yeah, they're on board. So it's connecting the dots to the decision maker.
So that's actually really good to hear. For everyone on the call, if you have any questions for Walter, what you can do is on the left-hand side, there's a Q&A section. Tina, I saw that you've said thank you for Walter sharing his time. If anyone has the call, anyone have any questions, just put a note in, and we'll ask Walter directly. I think we can move on to the next question that I had for you, Walter. So you have the B2B channels, you have the B2C, you're starting to figure out how to scale your operations. What are some of the difficulties in growing your type of business?
Yeah, we always discuss it within a team, because it's if you're doing a tech startup, you're mostly constrained by engineers, right? Whereas what we are doing, it's inventory plays a big part. And holding inventory would mean having enough snacks so people always get what they want. We don't run out of stock. So when it comes down to the physical realm of a business, these are some of the things that proved to be quite challenging in the beginning. So we run into cash flow issues. We run into predicting, what stocks do we have enough stocks for like next month, and yeah, holding inventory was quite a challenge. So it ended up we had to Google, of course, and I asked industry experts, how do they actually manage their inventory? A typical e-commerce store has probably 1,000 SKUs. So, for BoxGreen, we probably have 30 or 50 SKUs. So you think in hindsight, it's actually not too bad, because if people can manage 1,000 SKUs and there are many different ways on drop shipping or inventory management solutions. So that's something we learn on the way. But that has been proven to be one of the challenge even right now.
So one question from Tina that she'd like to ask is the food subscription box model a model that's quite popular in Singapore? And if so, what was the point of difference with what you're doing? And
sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, cool. Okay, so yeah, I think I got a question right. So yeah, before we went this business, we obviously Google around for competitors, or even if there are other companies doing that around the world, and how is it like. Even for subscription itself, I would say in Asia, there are a couple of food subscription boxes already in Singapore, and
sorry, you just cut off a bit, Walter.
Yeah. Okay.
Am I repeating?
I'm just gonna let the connection stabilize. Okay, cool. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So yeah, I was just saying about the food subscription box, right? It's easy to start one, really easy. You just need to find a box and put stuff in and ship it out, right? So it's really the barrier of entry, I would say it's really low. But if you think about it, what we are doing right now is trying to differentiate ourselves through branding. And when we look around, like the big FMCG companies like Heinz, Unilever, P&G, Kraft Food, right? They simply buy into brands. And when we went through JFDI, they were telling us it should be a brand play ultimately, right? Because that's how the food industry works. You got a Coca-Cola, sugar water, but they're branded like that. So their words, their brand. So at the end of the day, to differentiate yourself, it's not just putting random stuff in a box and ship it to people. Some people like the curation, but the surprise factor, we realized, or at least I tried, and I can tell you, the novelty factors doesn't last. So what we're trying to build is a habit, right, for people to really find a place where people could really find healthy snacks. So that's where we took the brand route, and we decided, everything should be BoxGreen branded. We look at the brand play. So whatever physical box thing that you feel like doing, even Birchbox, they started off with samples. They are like a beauty subscription box in the US. So we studied them. They started off with samples from Maybelline, L'Oreal, and all, but eventually they launched their own product line because they realized you will hit a cap. And there are beauty boxes in Asia that have launched, and they realize, they hit a rock, they hit a ceiling where, there just aren't enough samples to be given away for free. So you really have to go down and own the supply chain and build a brand for yourself. I think so. To us, the subscription box is not our core business. Is just a channel for us to sell to people. But eventually, we want to be in retail shelves, stock up in mini bars, or even hotel airlines. So that's where we're looking at, and that's where we see this value. It's not just a subscription box. Yeah.
So what are the next steps for you to get there? It sounds as though the whole branding plays in process. I've noticed you guys have changed a lot on the website in the way that you package your products. Now that you have the one-off sales, the B2B sales, the B2C subscription sales, what does that mean next for what you guys are doing?
So right now we're still fine-tuning the product. We have been shipping on a monthly basis. We want to increase that frequency to be shipping out every week, so people could order on a weekly basis or even fortnightly or monthly. I think again, we listen to our customers, so this is what they want. It's like this box of snacks not gonna last us for a month. So maybe weekly is something where we are aiming at, and really getting the word out to people. And again, growing our SKUs. We currently have 30 products right now. We want to increase to more range. It could be popcorns, healthy cookies, healthy biscuits, It's if you look at the snack industry, it's really big, and you could really have a lot of creativity around it. So that's why we're looking at bumping up our food technology, having a nutritionist or even a food chef to come in and concoct better snacks for people to try.
Is Singapore a good testing platform for that? Are you looking at other markets as well?
Definitely. I think if you talk to any startups or entrepreneurs, they'll tell you Singapore is a good test bed, but the market size is just not there, right? If you have an idea, eventually you want to branch it out, think regional from day one. I think that's just the way we should do it in Asia, because it's so fragmented and every market is just on its own. So that's the challenge for us again. So yes, we are looking at other cities where they could benefit from our services. So high cities who are developed and have high internet penetration, people who are ready to shop online. I think that's a very important factor, because different parts of Southeast Asia are still developing, and some of them maybe only, okay, maybe I could buy clothes online, but some people are not ready to buy food online, right? So we take all this into consideration and to decide where to launch in the next few cities. And hopefully we'll be in most of Asian cities within the next few years.
Really cool. Well, thanks so much for spending the time to chat today. For everyone on the call, today was really good insight into eating healthy. If you guys are in Singapore at the moment, you guys can check out boxgreen.co and order your subscription box.
Yep.
If you have any other questions, you can post it onto our forum. But otherwise, this Fireside session will also be recorded, so you can rewatch if you missed out. But again, Walter, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.
And all the best. I'll talk to you when I'm back in Singapore.
For sure. Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
See you
Thank
around.
you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.